to or welcome back to my channel if you are new here. And I really feel like this dressing gown has now become part of my personality and also part of my videos. I feel like whenever I want to do a sit down video, I literally put this on. So if you do see me wearing this in every video, do not be alarmed. It's just me and my new favourite dressing gown from Primark. I just feel so elevated and bougie in it. I honestly feel like this is the most classic me picture, if you're new here, that you're ever gonna see. Me with some water in a wine glass, in my Skims dupe like velvet robe, ready to talk about an important topic. And I know you guys will know what topic we are discussing from the title, which is self-concept. And this is something that we must, I feel like everybody needs to understand self-concept. And I've always been very aware of self-awareness, self-love, self-esteem. However, self-concept is one of the most overlooked things. Even when I typed in how to improve self-concept, all of the articles that came up were how to improve self-esteem. And this just goes to show how confused they are as concepts. So I'm going to take you through it properly, how to use it, how to understand it, and also how it's currently affecting you in your success, your future, the way you feel about yourself, the actions that you take, the thoughts that you have. So yeah, we're going to dive into it. Make sure to grab a drink before we begin. Grab a notebook and pen if you want. I am really feeling like these videos are kind of like podcast episodes where you don't necessarily have to watch it. You can just put me on the TV or put me on your phone, listen to me in your AirPods and be going about your day. You might be cleaning right now, you might be even putting up the Christmas tree, who knows, although I hope you're listening to Christmas music if you're doing that. But I am itching to get my Christmas tree up. I'm so ready, but I'm holding out a little bit longer. Also, before we dive in, make sure to connect with me on socials and subscribe as well. If you do enjoy these videos, it means more to me than you'll know. I feel like if you watch many other YouTubers, we all say the same thing of how much it means, but there's a reason for it. Every single subscriber I notice, and I mean that, I notice everyone that subscribes to this channel, and honestly, I wish I could give you all a hug and say thank you, because it means a lot. And with YouTube being the hardest, without a doubt, platform to grow on, not that I want to affirm that as reality, but when you look at statistics versus when I post this content on TikTok, it's a different ball game. So I would really appreciate it if you could come connect with me on here and on socials as well. And let's dive into the video. Now, what is self-concept? So self-concept is the overarching idea that you have about yourself. This includes your personality, your belief, what you're like socially, emotionally. This is your view of who you are as a person, and it's very multidimensional in the respect of it's not just one thing, it's complex. And self-concept is a little bit more than if someone says, tell me about you. I feel like a lot of people, as soon as they hear that question, will say, I work here, I live here, I'm this old. The very kind of logical black and white things. Self-concept is more potentially how you would describe yourself as, I'm really hardworking, I'm ambitious, I am generous, I'm loyal, I'm really fun to be around. Those kind of things that we tend to avoid saying. But I want you to pause this video and just ask yourself, who am I? What is the version that you have of yourself right now? Really think about everything. Socially, emotionally, spiritually, physically. How do you view yourself? And what is the concept that you currently hold about you? Now, like I said, self-concept often gets confused with self-esteem. Now, whilst they do link, I truly believe that self-concept is the first stage that we need to understand, because it directly influences our thoughts, our actions, etc., which I'm going to go on to in a second. So I want you to almost think of like self-concept being kind of at the root of all of this, like being self-aware, giving yourself love, having self-esteem, and kind of like think of it as maybe like a flower, like self-concept's in the middle, because without you knowing what the view is that you hold of yourself, self-awareness isn't going to be that high, because you're not going to be truly aware of who you are. Self-esteem might be affected because you don't take the time to truly understand who you are, and maybe we're trying to be somebody that we're not, or we're underplaying ourselves to fit into social norms and avoid ridicule. It's going to directly affect all of these things. And when we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to any of my babes who studied psychology or business in A-level, GCSE or at university, you will be sick to death of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as am I. However, now I'm in my adult life, I've realized how important it actually is, and it is really true. When we think about self-concept, it's so important on the ladder to actually helping us self-actualize and reach our full potential. Now, the reason for this is, if we think about our self-concept, and hopefully you did pause the video to do the activity, if not, maybe pause it now, play some music, and just have a little go at brain dumping, who am I, answering that question. Now, what I want you guys to really understand is how this then directly affects our thoughts, our actions, the way we show up, the way we talk about ourselves. Because if you have a self-concept that you are, let's say, lazy, okay? Let's say that your view of yourself is you're a little bit lazy. Think about how this then triggers this whole thought and action pattern, okay? If you're somebody who has viewed themselves as a lazy person, let's say you've identified yourself as someone who is lazy, then think about the thoughts, okay? Now, not everybody is going to accept that as their reality, especially if there's negative things. There's going to be two types of people. There's going to be one type of person that says things like, I'm lazy, I'm unmotivated, I'm crazy, let's say I'm ugly, I'm fat, whatever that self-concept is, that negative self-concept. There's going to be two types of things that happens off this. There's going to be one group of people that when they've written that down, it will trigger them to change it, and it motivates them to change their view of that and maybe start working out, start eating healthier, start being productive and not feeling lazy, and trying to re-engineer that pattern, okay? That identifies from how we view ourselves. But then there is an overwhelming majority, and this kind of plays into fixed and growth mindset, where we just have a view of, well, that's just who I am, okay? And if you're somebody who does have more negative views of yourself on the who am I self-concept activity, by having that mentality of like, that's just who I am, we then start and trigger the thought pattern and the actions to continue that. So if you have identified yourself as someone that's lazy, then your thoughts will be, well, I've never done that anyway. Why would I need to do that? I don't need to go on a walk. I've never done that before. I'm just not the kind of person that does that. And then guess what? The action then triggers the exact same loop of the negative behavior, of that negative assumption and view that you have on yourself. The same way that if you did it positive, imagine what it can trigger off the back of it as well. And the way that we talk to ourselves, the way that we view ourselves is so important, because it also does, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, affect how other people view us. Because if you're the type of person who has a strong self-concept about yourself and a few of the things on there are quite negative, you're going to find yourself naturally projecting these things onto other people when they meet you for the first time, when they hang out with you, and that's going to affect their view of you as well. If you're constantly letting everybody else know that you're lazy, like you are fat, you're ugly, whatever it is that your self-concept is, imagine how that's going to change everybody else's view as well. And I truly believe that mastering the art of self-concept and really learning to ensure that not only is it an accurate representation of you, but also who you want to be, this will have such a positive ripple effect. And one thing I didn't mention on self-concept is how much it is affected by childhood and growing up. And this is where psychology just comes into this, but we are not just born with a self-concept of who we are. We learn it through the way our parents talk to us, the way our really key figures growing up speak to us, what they say about us. If you're constantly told that you are clumsy, I can guarantee that when you get older, you will say, as part of your self-concept, I'm really clumsy. And you know what that does? It causes you to be more clumsy, okay? Because that's your thought pattern, okay? And the brain is programmed to automatically spot more of what you decide is a reality, okay? The brain is automatically programmed to spot more of what you decide is a reality. So if you grow up and then in your adult life you think you're really clumsy, I can guarantee you're going to do a lot more things that fit that narrative than don't if you identified as somebody who was really careful. Now, we need to really take an active role, as you can probably tell from this video already, in really rewiring some of that and taking charge of our self-concept. Because quite often, especially when I speak to clients or some friends, when I ask them about themselves, it's not always the positive things that get said first. And I honestly hate that as a society this is a thing where we will put ourselves down before we bring ourselves up. We will put ourselves down as soon as somebody gives us a compliment and argue why it's not true. And I truly believe it's this protective mechanism of growing up not wanting to show off, or, you know, maybe wanting to fit in, not wanting to stand out, not wanting to look cocky or like we have a big ego. And now we've kind of created a loop where negative self-talk about ourselves is so comfortable. It's so comfortable for us to do it in front of our friends. It's so comfortable to do it to ourselves, and this has really got to change. And I believe if we can master the art of self-concept, this can help us be our most best level, most successful, happiest version of ourselves. But it does require us to have an active role in developing this and changing this over time as well. So I'd be really keen to know what came up for you guys when you did the self-concept exercise, because even some things that I was writing, I actually realized the opposite, which was that I actually was speaking of myself so highly and giving myself these things that I would love to be, but I'm not quite practicing it. I'm not quite mastering the art of being that person. And if I'm being honest, that is perfect for somebody like me who's motivated by results and change anyway. And I could see the gap between where I am and who I want to be, who I would really love to identify myself as the best version of myself. And a journal prompt I do get a lot of clients to do is asking yourself, who am I and who do I desire to be? So who is Jessica Leaming right now? What is she doing? Where is she at in life? How is she speaking to friends? How good is she at communicating? How self-aware is she? How financially stable is she? Etc. And then asking myself, where does Jessica Leaming desire to be? Who does she desire to be? What is she doing as her highest version of herself? And it really motivates me. I know some people, when that gap is highlighted, it can feel a little bit demotivating, but that really is again on your view of how confident you are that you can actually achieve that next level self, how confident you are that you can become that highest version of yourself. And I really feel like self-concept, because it is so multi-dimensional, there's so many different things that play into it, such as the way we've been spoken to, the way we have been complimented, the way we have been conditioned as well into doing things and not doing things. School is one of the things for me that definitely could have caused me never to get into this line of work and never create content and YouTube, because I was constantly told off for being chatty, for getting distracted, for losing my train of thought, for daydreaming. And actually all of those things that I was constantly told in school that were like bad have actually meant that I've been a successful entrepreneur and content creator, because I love to speak. To be honest, I do still get distracted, and this is something that I am working on, but daydreaming has given me one of the best business ideas that I've ever had. It's given me the best content ideas I've ever had, because I've had the capacity to daydream. And I think a lot of this plays into the way that we are growing up. And I think especially if you're somebody that needs to like just break it completely, like you need to break the paradigm, we need to just shake it up, my best thing that I could ask you to do is just ask yourself, if there were no boundaries and nothing could stand in my way, okay, who would I be? What would I be doing? And really think about this. If it was just up to you and the past didn't matter, who you are right now didn't matter, really work out who you would actually be, okay? And if you can match your self-concept to that, that you are a loving, hardworking, ambitious, driven, polite, generous person, okay, I can guarantee it's going to trigger that positive thought pattern, which is going to provoke the actions, which is going to get you the results. And I'm actually tempted to trial this when I am ready to date again, although it is still something that I'm going to practice anyway. But actually being a wife and actually having that self-concept that I am a wife, a good mom, and just really kind of having that in my self-concept, I can guarantee by me identifying and saying, okay, Jess is a wifey, she is wifey material, you can guarantee you're going to see me doing more wifey activities. You're gonna see certain changes in my personality. You're gonna see maybe me cooking more, maybe me having more downtime, maybe me stepping into my femininity, maybe not needing to be so much in this hustle culture, because naturally those are the thoughts and the actions that would get driven from that belief. And I guess self-concept is very linked to manifestation as well, because obviously your thoughts create actions and your mind creates your reality as well. The view of you is so important, and like I said, it affects the way other people think of you, it affects the actions that you take, it affects the way you view yourself. Nobody deserves to look in the mirror every day and not like what they see. Nobody deserves to, every time they're asked about themselves, shrivel up and not want to talk about it, okay? Or not want to boast or brag, which again is another thing that we've learned over time. You've got one life, guys, and my best advice to you is to show up as the best possible version of yourself and who you actually want to be, because you can change your reality, okay? All the reality is a projection of your thoughts, your mind, what you're capable of, the view of yourself, the view of the world. It's just a projected version of what's in here. So if you start changing that a little bit, if you start tweaking that and dialing into a little bit of a different scenario or a view of yourself or a different vision, I can guarantee you're going to start seeing shifts in your reality as well and becoming more of the person that you want to be. But I think it is really important for us to, number one, identify our view of ourselves. Number two, maybe even asking people their view of us as well, because I can guarantee it's going to affect us anyway, but I bet a lot of us shy away from asking because we don't always want to know. And to be honest, feedback to me has helped me so much in wanting to change certain aspects of myself. It was only 2 days ago I did one of those question boxes and I asked people to answer, what is the most classic me thing to do, okay? Or like something that if somebody did it, you'd think, that is such a classic Jess thing to do. And even some of the responses, granted one of them was how much I love this dressing gown, but even some of the responses, I did think to myself, I would want to change that, or I do love that. And I think constantly having your eyes and ears open as well to how other people view you and maybe how much you live up to your self-concept, or how big the gaps might be in terms of where you are and where you want to be. I think it's really beneficial to lean into the evidence around you as well, because sometimes we will overlook qualities because we don't think that we possess them. Sometimes we think that we are one thing and other people view you as different. For example, it is such a well-known fact apparently that people constantly ask me how I am and I avoid that question. Now, I don't know if that's a subconscious thing or just because I would rather deflect, just because my line of work is constantly listening to everybody else. You know, I have lots of clients and students and members that I just rarely speak about me and kind of wait for YouTube or TikTok to speak about me. But that's definitely been something where I'm like, oh, that's not the kind of person that I want to be. Like, there's someone that just avoids that. But another one that came up was how impulsive I am, that I went to the spa and came home with a brand new car, and also did the same when I was in the airport on the way to Vegas. And when I'm trying to have a self-concept as somebody that is financially mature, and that's something I'm working on, if you've seen any of my other videos, that kind of made me aware as well of like, oh, I think I'm on this journey to like financial maturity and stability, yet people's view of me is still that I'm kind of financially irresponsible and like very impulsive and spontaneous in that respect, which can be a positive. But again, I think just leaning into the evidence really allows you to see the gap between your self-concept and your reality as well in how you view yourself. So yeah, hopefully you guys understand as well how much that can just ripple into your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, etc., and allow you to either become the person that you've always desired to be or just accept a reality that you have decided for yourself. And I think if you are someone that has just accepted that that's the way I am, that's my reality, that's fine. But number one, my channel is probably not for you, because it is for those people that really want to level up and really become the best versions of themselves. But also that's absolutely fine, and growth and personal development and self-actualization isn't for everybody. But again, just referring back to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that is the absolute, like, you've reached your full potential, you are really satisfied in life. And I would hope that we are all striving for that, to really maximize the experience, the results, the success, the happiness, the love that we can have whilst we're here on this lifetime. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna finish my water in a wine glass. Let me know if there's any other topics that you want me to discuss as well, because I'm really in my value era and I'm loving it. I really am. So let me know if I can serve you with another video, and I'll catch you guys soon. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, or share it. Tag me on Instagram as well, and I'll catch you in the next video.